Good evening, ma'am. My name is Bibi Imiana. Tonight, I will present to you our report entitled Virtual Private Database. So, here is the objectives. First is to define the term Virtual Private Database and explain its importance. Second is to implement a virtual private database by viewing or using the view database object. Third is to implement a virtual private database by using Oracle's application context. And the last is to implement a row level and column level security. Next. So, what is BVD or Virtual Private Database? It is the most popular secure database which was introduced by Oracle Database Enterprise. So, it is used when the object privileges and database rules are inadequate to achieve security requirements, and the policies or protocols are directly proportional to security requirements. It contains both row and column level security. So, PVD is associated with the application context feature, and these contexts are used to manage the data during the execution of SQL statements. It is also a complex BVD example might read an application context during a login trigger, and a simple BVD example might restrict access to data during business hours. So, ang BVD, ma'am, kay magamit siya sa business transactions and other. So, ang advantage of BVD is higher accessibility. So, users can easily access the data from anywhere. And next is flexibility. It can be easily modified without breaking the control flow. And last is the higher recovery rate. The data can be retrieved very easily. So, next is the dynamically secured. No need to maintain complex rules. No backdoors. The security policy is attached to the data, so no bypassing is allowed. So here's the disadvantage of PPD. Difficult column level security. Oracle account ID is required to use this service. Hard to examine. So here is the example. The user can see the data of the column of account migration ID 149 from the first table. It will be specific to itself only unless more queries are provided. BVD can execute the data which has been commanded. So, as you can see, ma'am, siya attribute nga cost last name or customer's last name. Then, customer's first name and account migration ID. So, for example, nag-input siya og P and A. And then, ang magawas niya sa account migration ID is 145. Which means, given na siya nga value sa my account migration ID. So, next. Example number 2. In VFD, no application security problems occurred as it can be bypassed and all protocols are linked with the customer table. In the below example, the customer can see his orders in the order table. So, again ma'am, na siya attribute nga cost last name, cost first name, and customer's ID. And nag-input siya og Peter, the first last name, and the first name is Anna. Then, gitagaan siya og 105 nga customer's ID. So, I think given na siya nga value. Then, ang sa ubos din na kay ang order date, naa siya date, dayon naa pa siya time ordered, dayon then kanus-an na niya na bayaran. Then, ang cost ID is 105. Ang yung total order dayon kay na i-value nga 2,437.98. Then, na din siya 3,849.3. So, next. Example number 3. In a given image, the hidden query is applied to hide the data which can be confidential. so that it can be fully secured and users will have access control over others except for the hidden one. So again, nasa cost last name, customer's first name, this credit limit, and account migration ID. So in the first row, nag-input siya og last name nga P, then first name nga A. Then ang credit limit is missing. So ang yung account migration was 145. So mo dito ko ma'am sa row, last row nga nag-input siya og Q, then nag-input siya og F, and then ang credit limit kay 1,200. Then ang account migration is 149. So tagaan siya given nga account migration ID, which is ang 149. Next is why ang BFD nga magamit gid siya sa kuan sa securities. So first is security is server enforced security as opposed to application enforced. So ang purpose niya on benefits is security requirements necessitate data access be restricted a row or column level, or what we call FGA, or the fine grained access. Next is the one database schema serves multiple unrelated groups or entities. Next, scalability. Table customers contains 1,000 customers records, and suppose we want customers to access their own records only. And by using views, we need to create 1,000 views using BFD. It can be done with a single policy function. So muna siya ang ma'am nga scalability ng basihan, dapat mobuhat ka og if ang table customers nag-contain og 1,000 customer records, then dapat maka-access po ang customer sa ilang own records. And using sa views kanang kailangan mag-create og 1,000 views using the BFD method. It can be done with a single policy function. So next is the simplicity. Say we have a table T and many views are based on T. Suppose we want to restrict access to some information in T. Without BFD, all view definitions have to be changed. So using BFD, it can be done by attaching a policy function to T. As the policy is enforced in T, the policy is also enforced for all the views that are based on T. So from the word na simplicity, ma'am, kung nagkuan kag table, we have kung nagkuan og table nga daghan og views, yung nag-base sa T, letter T, dapat ang T kay maka-restrict sa access to some information in also in T. So kung walay BFD, ang mga views and definitions kay ma-change. Then kung magamit na ning kag BFD kay ma-attach na rin ang mga policy function, which ang T as the policy is enforced in T. So our views are based on also in T. So next is implementing a BFD using views. View object limits what users can see and do with existing data. Hides columns or rows from users. Create view statement. Create data views. So next, implementing a BFD using views. So here is the example of implementation steps. So first is to log on as dbsec schema. Second is to display the employees table. Third is to create the table and type the syntax employees underscore ver1 or the version 1. Then here is the full definition of each syntax. So create table employees underscore version 1, employee ID, first name, last name, email, phone number, hire date, job ID, salary, manager, and so on and so forth. So with a given attributes and entities. Next is the implementing a BFD using views. Create a view object to display rows that belong only to the logged on user. So Here is the syntax is to create view employees underscore view 1 as select employee underscore ID, comma, first underscore name, comma, last underscore name, comma, email, phone underscore number, comma, hire underscore date, comma, job underscore ID, comma, salary underscore manager underscore ID, comma, department ID, and so on and so forth. So, muna siya ang kailangan ng mga syntax para maka-create ka og view and to display rows that belongs only to the log-on user. So, next. Grant select and insert on this view to another user. Grant select insert on employee underscore view 1 to Scott. So, first is to insert a row using employees underscore view 1. So, insert into dbsec that employees underscore view 1, open parenthesis, employee underscore ID, and so on and so forth, and other attributes. Then, for example, then kay ang ibutang nga input or values kay ang 100, 100 comma, and Sam is the first name and the last name is Afiuni, and the middle name is the Sefioni. Then ang phone, for example lang yung phone number is na 123234345 then 68 and so on and so forth. Then next, user is a function that returns the username value of the person who is logged on. If logged on as dsec, comma, user equals to dvsec. Okay. If mag-login din ma'am, ang combination sa dsec user is what we call the dvsec. If ang logon po sa scat user, ang yung equivalent niya ana is ang only ang scat. Next. Alternatively, add a trigger or insert to populate the username automatically. A trigger is a stored PL or SQL procedure that fires is called automatically when a specific event occurs, such as the before insert event. So here's the syntax: create or replace trigger, trg underscore employees underscore version 1 underscore before underscore ends, and so on and so forth. So here's the syntax in order to create a trigger or to trigger an insert to populate the username automatically. So next, insert into. So dbsec dot employees underscore view 1 and so on and so forth. Same kaganina ma'am katong mga values sa ka tao. So the above statement will automatically update field CTL UPD user with user because of the trigger TRG employees version 1 before is muna siya ang may tabo ma'am if katong ganina nga wala pa siya nagamit og trigger nga method, mag-result na din to siya og automatic field update field at automatic field statement. So if magbuhat itang user na pod kay mag create og trigger, ang yang gamiton nga syntax is TRG employees version 1 before ends. So next, views can become hard to administer. Solution is VVD. So implementation is limited and requires careful design and development. Next is the Oracle BVD. So how does it work? When a user accesses a table or view or synonym which is protected by a PVD policy or function. So first is the Oracle server invokes the policy function whenever a logged-on user tries to execute a query. Second is that the policy function returns a predicate based on session attributes or database contents. So third is the server dynamically rewrites the submitted query by appending the return predicate to the where clause. Next is last one is the modified SQL query is executed. So for example, suppose Alice has the following table. My underscore table, open parenthesis, owner varchar 2 and the yung size case 30, then the data varchar and size niya same niya 30. So users can access only the data of their own. So but the admin should be able to access any data without restrictions. So unsaon man. So muna siya ang button. So create a policy function. First, create a function sec underscore function and open parenthesis and p underscore schema varchar 2 comma and p underscore object obj or object varchar 2, then return to varchar 2. So as ang iyang buhaton ma'am kay is dapat ang user nag-contain siya og size nga 100 and then magbigin din siya if ang system context kay user env or esdva, then mag-return din siya admin kan mag-return siya og ang admin kay maka-access sa any data. If else dayon, if dili siya makakuan, ang user dayon kay mag-return og owner as a user. So users can only access their own data. So ang mag-end ay ang end din siya if ang end kay ang the predefined application is a context. So user env ang ginagamit nga term. Okay, next, attach the policy function to my underscore table. So ang yung syntax is execute the vms rls that add underscore policy object schema and then ini yung value kay Alice. So for example ma'am, kay ang object name kay is my table, yung policy name is my policy, function schema kay Alice, ang policy function kay sec function, then ang statement types is select, then update and insert. So by the term of update check, mag-return siya og true nga result. Next is Bob access my table. So select from my table. So select from my table where owner is Bob only shows the rows that owner is Bob. So mag-show lang siya nga ang owner si Bob yun. Then ang insert into my table values kay Bob some data. And okay. So insert into my table values Alice other data. So not okay because of the check option. So dapat ang kang Bob man siya nga kuan nga table owner, so Bob ra gyud ang dapat makita nga result or nga value dito. So nag-input man siya, for example ni nag-insert man siya og table values nga Alice and other data. So dili siya okay kay dili man siya ang owner sa table. So if magbuhat ko og table nga Alice, dapat dito ra gyapon ang kung unsa tong table name, mo ra gyapon dapat to ang input niya sa by rows, which is Alice. So next, so column level PPD. So instead of attaching a policy to a whole table or a view, attach a policy only to security relevant columns. So ang default behavior niya kay sticks the number of rows returned by query. So masking behavior returns all rows but returns null values for the columns that contain sensitive information. So if ang default behavior niya kay nag-restrict sa number of rows returned by a query, then ang column niya, if ang default behavior nimo ang mahitabo kay mag-restrict ang number sa rows, then mag-result din siya kung ang restriction sa values kay mag-return og query result. Then ang masking behavior kay mag-return siya og all rows but mag-return po siya og null values for the columns nga nag-contain og mga sensitive information. Then next is the restrictions or the applies only to select statements. The predicate must be a simple Boolean expression. So ang Boolean expression ma'am kay mo na siya ang mga if it is true or it is false nga statement, then mag-return siya og Boolean nga true or Boolean nga false nga result. So next is the suppose nga si Alice is the following table. So employees, then and mga attributes niya, then sa table ma'am kay nadiri ang attribute yung entity ay attribute name nga EID, dayon shall I say yung entity kay EID A_ID, then name, then salary. So tulo ka table row. So first row kay ang number 1, which is ang name niya kay Alice, then ang yang salary kay 80. So next din si Bob, 60 din yung salary, si Carl din na 99 ang yung salary. So from each table rows, nagyod siya mga input nga desired numbers, which is ang salary 80, 60 and 99, and the EID or yang count sa kapila ka nga employee. So users can access EIDs and names without any restriction. So but users can access only their own salary information. So okay siya nga dapat gyud sakto gyud siya nga ang owner lang gyud sa or ang user nga maka-access sa yung own nga salary information, siya ra gyud ang makakita. So dili dapat makakita ang uban for private for security purposes po siya. So next is the create a policy function. Create function sec function p schema varchar 2 and the p object varchar 2. So dapat magiton siya og varchar 2 as user varchar 2 and yung size kay 100, then begin user system context user env and the session user. So yung return name kay ang user and mag-end siya if ang yung user is mo hatag na po siya og value nga return name nga user. So next, attach the policy function to employees. So default behavior niya kay ang execute dvms rls.add policy object schema. So nag-name siya og Alice, object name employees, may policy Alice, sec function, and then so on and so forth. Nag-involve na siya og number, which is ang salary. Then next is the Bob accesses table employees. So yung gyapon ganina na yung default behavior niya nga select EID name from employees. So na duha ka entities, which is ang EID din and name. So each entities na contain siya attributes nga 1, 2, 3 and Alice, Bob, Carl. And next is the select EID name, salary from employee. Nasa tulo ka entity row table, then nasa usa ka row lang nga nag-contain of 2, 12 and 60. Next is the attach the policy function to employees or masking behavior. So here's the syntax. Execute the vms underscore rls that add underscore policy, and object schema is name from Alice, object name employees is W, and the policy name is my policy. Function schema Alice, policy function sec relevant calls or what yung isgutan ganin na kay ang salary. So nag-involve na siya og number. So muna na siya ang last nga syntax is sec underscore relevant underscore calls underscore op equals to dbms underscore rls that all that underscore rows. So Next is the verb accesses table employees or masking behavior. And muna to siya. Select ang EID name, salary from employees. Then, muna tulo ka buok entities which is a EID, name, and salary. So, this time, ang one, which is si Alice, wala gipakita ang yang salary. Then, ang 2, which is Bob, na sa 60 nga salary. Then, si number 3, si Carl, wala gipakita ang yang salary. So, naa siya privacy nga si Carl kung sample si Bob lang gyud ang mo input sa iyang username, siya ra gyud makita si ang salary kay naka-hide man pud ang kang Alice o kang Carl. So naa siya security relevances. So next is the implementing a PVD using application context in Oracle. So application context act as secure caches of data that may be used by a fine-grained access control policy. So, upon logging into the database, Oracle sets up an application context in the users section. So, you can define set and access application attributes that you can use as a secure data cache. So, there is a pre-defined application context or what we call the user env. So, in Oracle Security Guide. So, muna siya ang mga common USB namespace which na duha ka buok nga inputs is ang attribute din ang description of what attribute returns. So, first is ang terminal, din ang definition, IP address, and so on and so forth. Then, implementing a PVD using application context in Oracle. So, to set an attribute value in an application context, the VM session set that context underscore and namespace attribute name then value. So, to get an attribute value from an application context, system context, namespace, and attribute ang kailangan ni mga syntax na gamiton. So, example niya kay ang DVM is underscore session dot set underscore context user env IP address, which is ang gipakita po ng IP address niya. And next is the system context or SYS, user env IP address, and mag-return gid sa yung correct nga IP address nga gi-input is ang which is ang 192.168.1.2. So next, application context. Functionality specific to Oracle follows to set database application variables that can be retrieved by database sessions. So, ang variables can be used for security context based or user defined environmental attributes. So, klaro kay siya ma'am nga ang functionality sa specific Oracle kay mag-allow siya to set of database application nga mag-retrieve og variable nga magamit sa security context nga mag-base dayon sa defined environmental nga attributes. So next is the implementing virtual private databases. So ang imong first step is to ang owner kay mag-give siya policy and its function. So, ang next step is to user sends SQL to the database server. So, next step is to the associated table triggers a predefined policy function. Then, ang next step is the server dynamically rewrites the submitted query by appending the return predicate to the where clause. So, ang last step din niya kay ang modified SQL query is executed na dayon. So, na siya 5 steps in implementing virtual private databases. Next is the data access by a virtual private database will perform the following 5 steps. So, muna siya. Ang user sends SQL to the database server. Next is the associated table triggers a predefined security policy. Next is the security policy returns a predicate. And next is the SQL statement is modified according to the security policy, and last step is to secure data returns to a user or to a specific user. So na mo na siya ang ang schema sa unsaon pag unsay process sa Brother Private Database uh, nga method or the processing mo na siya. So next is the application context. One can create a customized application context and attributes. So let's say each employee can access a portion of the customer's table based on the job position. So for example, a clerk can access only the records of the customers who lives in a region assigned to him, but a manager can access any record. And suppose that the job positions of employees are stored in a LDAP server, or what we call the lightweight development access protocol, then or in the employee table. So such information can be accessed and cached in an application context when an employee logs in. So muna siya, gamiton nimo ang LDAP nga server if or when ang job or position sa employee kay mag-involve, then mag-create din siya og employees nga table. Next is the create application context. So here is the steps on how to create create application context. First is to create a PSQL packages or package that sets the context, and create package AMP ANV context IS, and procedure set job position IS, GP departure din yung size kay 100, and then magbigin siya og select job post into GP from employee, given na yung GP nga keyword from the employee. So where ang name is equals to system or sys underscore context user env session user, and ang DVMS session set underscore context in PNV job and GP. So kung unsay mag-input nga buyer, dapat maoro gyapon ang yang application context result or the value. So next is to create a context and associate it with the package create context in AMP underscore env using AMP underscore env underscore context. So any attribute in the AMP env context can only be set by procedures in the AMP env context, and then a package. So to set the context before users retrieve the data. So at the login, create or replace trigger AMP underscore trig after logon or database begin. So muna siyang syntax AMP env underscore context dot set underscore job underscore position. So mag-end din siya. So use an event trigger and login to pull session information into the context. So, next is the last step, I think, the use the context in a PVD function. So if ang muna siya ang syntax din niya, if sa system underscore context env, then ang yung ginakall ani kay ang job, which is ang manager, then mag-return siya. Else kay mag-return siya og null value. So next is the multiple policies. It is possible to associate multiple policies to a database object. So the policies are enforced with AND syntax or AND. For example, suppose table T is associated with P1, P2, P3 when T is accessed by query Q, and it is equal to the select A from T where C and Q is select A from T where CU, C1, CU and U and C3, and then different from Stonebreaker's approach. So ang policies are enforced with or syntax. So ang Q is nag-define siya nga ang select A from T where CU, C1, U, CU, and CU, and C3. Then, while ang Stonebreaker's policies specify what users can see. So, ang permissions din kay ang BFD policies is mag-specify siya nga what users cannot see. Then, yung na siya mga prohibited or mga prohibitions nga mahitabo. So, nga dapat ang users, specific nga users lang ang makakita sa iyang own nga data. Dili na makita ang ubang nga lain nga data sa uban pa nga users. Next is viewing PBD policies and applications context using Policy Manager. So, ang graphical tool called Policy Manager or use system credentials to log in. And if GA or the fine grained access control policies are divided into two parts. So, policy groups and then application context. So, mo din siya ang viewing PVD policies, application context using policy manager ang yang continued nga step by step. So, first kay mag-open ka og i-open mo ang programs, then mag-open ka sa Oracle nga file, then click din nimo ang pangitawan nimo ang integrated management tools, then find the Oracle Directory Manager or Policy Manager. So, next sa Oracle Enterprise Manager nga application, mo na siya ang login manager nga UI. So, na siya username, password, service, and connect us. Then, if ma-input na nimot ang iyang mga account values, click na ni kag OK. Then, next, Oracle Policy Manager. Then, pag makasulod na ka sa Oracle nga app, ang imong i-click ay mo pangitao na kay ang DBSEC cost, sales, rep, and policy. So, na yang makita nindri ang yang attributes and entities which is ang object name which is ang customers, object owner kay ang DBSEC, policy name is DBSEC cost, sales, rep, and so on and so forth. So, each entities nag-contain siya og mga attributes nga kailangan nimo i-fill in. Next is mo rin siya ang summary sa among topic nga virtual private database. Kay ang virtual private database allows or prevents data access at the row or column level implemented using view database objects. So, ang BPDs are also referred to as a row level security or RLS, or fine grained access, or what we call FGA. SQL Server does not support VPDs. So, klaro kay siya. Then, ang Microsoft SQL Server 2000 system function of user. Then, next is the Oracle Application Context. Allows setting of database application be retrieved by database sessions. System connect context function, PSQL package, DBMS session, set context procedure. So, muna siyang mga kailangan nga syntax nga imong i-apply sa usa ka database. Then, ang use Oracle supplied package DBMS RLS to add the PBD policy. Then, ang Oracle data dictionary views. So, need kina siya nga naagid na ang dictionary or data dictionary views. So, ang Oracle Policy Manager, a graphical tool used to administer BPD policies. And next is the Oracle has the capability to restrict updates or inserts on columns. So, using grant update column and insert column. Then, ano nito siya? Muna to tanan namong report, ma'am, and that's all. Thank you.